He sees her when nobody else does. Time ticks away. The Callaway Scholarship, his only escape from poverty, expires in 23 minutes. An elderly white woman stands abandoned in the downpour, blood trickling from her forehead, her expensive cashmere coat darkening with rain. 3 businessmen step around her without breaking stride. A woman on her phone actively changes course to avoid contact. The old woman reaches for a streetlight, misses, sways dangerously. Marcus checks his phone. 22 minutes until deadline. His mother's voice haunts him. "You get one shot at breaking out, baby. Don't waste it." The scholarship office sits just 3 blocks away. 3 blocks between struggle and salvation. The elderly woman calls out, voice trembling, "Please, can someone help me find Calvert Tower?" My grandson is waiting. A suited executive bumps her shoulder and keeps walking. She stumbles. Marcus makes his choice in an instant. He lunges forward as she falls, catching her just before she hits concrete. His portfolio crashes into a deep puddle. Ink bleeds through paper, dreams dissolving in dirty water. "Thank you, young man," she says, blue eyes suddenly clear and piercing despite her confusion. "I seem to have lost my way." A security guard approaches, hand hovering near his weapon. His gaze flicks between Marcus's black face and the wealthy white woman in his arms. Suspicion hardens his features. "Step away from the lady," the guard demands. "She needs medical attention," Marcus replies, standing his ground. "And respect. Something you people seem fresh out of today." The guard reaches for his radio. The scholarship office closes in 19 minutes. The application drips ruined onto the sidewalk. Marcus makes a second choice, just as costly as the first. He doesn't run. Some things matter more than scholarships. Marcus lives in a 2-bedroom apartment in Southside Chicago with his mother Loretta, hospital custodian working double shifts, grandmother Elise, battling early-stage dementia, and 12-year-old sister Zora, science prodigy. His father died in a construction accident 6 years ago. His older brother Dayon serves time for a minor drug charge that somehow became a felony. Each morning, Marcus wakes at 5 a.m. to help Grandma Elise with her medications before catching 2 buses to Westridge Academy, an elite private school where he's one of only 7 black students. He earned his place through a competitive academic program, but faces daily microaggressions. Mr. Harrington, the college counselor, barely disguises his assumptions. "Harvard might be a stretch, Washington. Have you considered community college? Nothing wrong with working with your hands." This despite Marcus maintaining a 4.0 GPA while working weekends at a grocery store. Today was supposed to be the culmination of his planning. The Callaway Foundation scholarship worth $250,000 would cover his full ride to Harvard pre-med. Marcus had spent months perfecting his application, including a personal essay about watching his grandmother's cognitive decline and the disparities in care she received. Now, as he helps the elderly woman to a nearby cafe while the security guard watches suspiciously, Marcus tries to suppress his panic. The application his ticket out is ruined. The deadline will pass while he ensures this stranger's safety. Inside the cafe, the barista addresses only the elderly woman. "Can I help you?" "This young man is helping me," the woman says firmly. "I seem to have gotten lost, and he's the only person who stopped. I think I hit my head when my driver didn't show." Marcus helps her to a table and finally introduces himself. "I'm Margaret Callaway," she responds, dabbing at her forehead with a napkin. Marcus freezes. "Callaway? As in the Callaway Foundation?" Margaret nods. "My late husband founded it. I serve as chairperson emeritus, though my grandson handles most operations now." The irony crushes Marcus. He's missing his Callaway scholarship deadline to help Margaret Callaway herself. When he explains his situation, Margaret insists on calling her grandson Bradford to extend the deadline. Bradford, speaking loudly enough for Marcus to hear, dismisses her. "Grandmother, we can't make exceptions. It undermines the integrity of the selection process. Besides, if he can't meet a simple deadline, he's hardly Harvard material. Marcus's heart sinks as Margaret hangs up. "I'm so sorry, dear." Bradford can be rigid. "No need, Mrs. Calloway. My mom raised me to help people who need it." Outside the cafe window, he spots his scholarship application pages scattered by wind, dissolving in puddles. 4 years of work, gone. His phone buzzes with a text from his mother. "How did it go, baby? Did you submit it on time?" As Marcus helps Margaret into a taxi to her grandson's office, a police cruiser pulls to the curb. 2 officers step out. "Is this kid bothering you, ma'am?" the first officer asks, hand resting on his holster. Before Marcus can speak, Margaret draws herself up with surprising authority. "This young man saved me when dozens walked past. He missed an important appointment to ensure my safety, and now you're harassing him instead of thanking him. Your badge numbers, please." The officers backpedal quickly, but the damage is done. Marcus feels the familiar weight of being viewed as a threat first, a person second. As the taxi pulls away, Margaret hands Marcus her business card with her personal number scrawled on the back. "This isn't over, Marcus Washington. I pay my debts." But Marcus knows better than to hope. People like the Calloways might offer platitudes, but they rarely upset their own systems for someone like him. He walks to the bus stop in the rain, trying to figure out how to tell his family that their shared dream just washed away because he chose to be kind to a stranger. That evening, he sits at their small kitchen table as his mother stirs a pot of her famous jambalaya, a recipe passed down from his Louisiana-born grandmother. The spicy aroma fills their apartment, but Marcus can't enjoy it. "You did the right thing," his mother says, after he explains what happened. "That woman needed help." "The right thing cost us everything, Mom." She sets down her wooden spoon and takes his face in her hands. "Listen to me. Your father and I didn't raise you to walk past someone in trouble because helping them might be inconvenient. That scholarship would have opened doors, yes, but sacrificing who you are to get those opportunities, that cost is too high." Marcus nods, but can't shake the weight settling on his shoulders. Tomorrow, he'll need to recalibrate his entire future based on one moment of kindness that the world seems determined to punish. 2 weeks pass, and Marcus has heard nothing from Margaret Calloway. The foundation announces its scholarship recipients, none named Marcus Washington. His mother tries to hide her disappointment, but he catches her crying in the kitchen late one night. "It's okay, Mom. I can still go to state with partial aid. I'll work and take loans for the rest." Loretta wipes her eyes. "You deserved better, baby." "At school, mister." Harrington's smugness is unbearable. "Sometimes these reach schools just aren't meant to be, Washington. No shame in setting more realistic goals." When Marcus returns home that afternoon, he finds a certified letter waiting. Harvard University has rejected his application despite his perfect academics. The reason, his character assessment from Westridge Academy, contained concerns about his reliability and commitment. Marcus knows exactly who wrote that assessment. Mr. Harrington, who never believed a kid from the South Side belonged at Harvard. That evening, his grandmother Elise has a particularly bad episode, forgetting who he is and becoming frightened. When he tries to help her take her medication, she screams, bringing their neighbor Mrs. Jenkins knocking with her baseball bat. "Everything okay in there, Loretta?" Mrs. Jenkins calls, eyeing Marcus with suspicion despite having known him his entire life. "It's fine," Marcus says quietly. "Grandma's just having a rough night." The next day, Marcus learns that the grocery store where he works part-time is closing. The owner, Mr. Chen, apologetically explains that a luxury condo developer bought the entire block. "They're giving us 30 days. "I'm sorry, Marcus." With college funding in jeopardy and now his income gone, Marcus feels the walls closing in. His friend Jamal suggests they could make quick money helping his cousin move packages across town. the same work that landed his brother Dion in prison. It's just delivery, man. 500 a weekend. Nobody checks what's in the bags. Marcus declines, but the seed of desperation is planted. At dinner, his sister Zora excitedly shows everyone her acceptance to a prestigious summer science program at MIT. "It's all expenses paid," she exclaims, then falters. "Except so, we need to cover the flight to Boston." Loretta's face falls. "Baby, with Marcus's scholarship falling through and me picking up extra shifts to cover Grandma's new medication, I don't know if we can swing a plane ticket right now." Zora forces a smile. "It's okay, Mom." Maybe next year. Later that night, Marcus stares at Jamal's text. Offer still open. 1 weekend equals Zora's plane ticket. Just saying. The next morning brings more trouble. Their landlord stops Marcus in the hallway with an eviction warning. "Your mother's late again, kid." "I've been patient because you're good tenants, but the new management company doesn't care about that. They want everyone out so they can renovate and double the rent." At school, Marcus discovers his locker has been vandalized with a racial slur. When he reports it to the administration, the vice principal sighs. "Without witnesses, there's nothing we can do." "Perhaps you misremembered your combination and someone became frustrated trying to open what they thought was their locker?" Marcus clenches his jaw. "It's my locker. My name is on the assignment sheet, and that's not a word someone uses out of frustration." The vice principal shuffles papers. "Let's not make mountains out of molehills, Mr. Washington. You're graduating in a few weeks anyway." Walking home that afternoon, Marcus passes Calvert Tower, the building Margaret Calloway had been trying to find. On impulse, he enters the lobby but is immediately stopped by security. "Can I help you?" The guard's tone makes clear that help is not on offer. "I'm here to see Mrs. Margaret Calloway." The guard smirks. "Sure you are, kid." Mrs. Calloway doesn't take unscheduled visitors, especially not... He stops himself, but his meaning is clear. As Marcus turns to leave, he spots Bradford Calloway, Margaret's grandson, whom he recognizes from the Foundation's website entering with an entourage of suits. Marcus approaches quickly before security can intercept him. "Mr. Calloway? I'm Marcus Washington. I helped your grandmother when she was lost downtown a few weeks ago. I just wanted to know if she's doing okay." Bradford barely glances at him. "Ah, yes, the scholarship applicant. Grandmother mentioned you. She's fine, thank you. Security, please escort this young man out." As the guards grab Marcus's arms, Bradford adds, "For what it's worth, your application was never in serious contention. The Calloway Scholarship is intended for exceptional candidates who demonstrate more than just basic decency." Marcus is escorted to the sidewalk, humiliation burning in his chest. Through the glass doors, he watches Bradford laugh with his associates. That night, Marcus's phone rings with an unknown number. It's Margaret Calloway herself. "Marcus? I've been trying to reach you. I sent cards, emails." Bradford assured me he was handling it. "Are you avoiding me, dear?" Marcus's confusion is genuine. "Mrs. Calloway, I never received anything from you or the Foundation except my rejection letter." A long silence follows. "I see," Margaret finally says, her voice tight with anger. "It seems my grandson has been managing more than just the Foundation's day-to-day operations. I'd like to meet with you tomorrow, Marcus. There are things we need to discuss." The next day, Marcus helps his mother prepare for her second shift. As he fixes her lunch jerk chicken with rice, her favorite, he debates whether to tell her about Margaret's call. "Something on your mind, baby?" Loretta asks, noticing his distraction. "Just thinking about bills," he lies. He doesn't want to give her false hope. After she leaves for work, Marcus heads to Bronzeville to meet his brother's parole officer, who needs character statements for Dion's upcoming hearing. The officer, a white man who's never set foot in their neighborhood before, is running an hour late. "Family support is critical," the officer says mechanically when he finally arrives, not looking up from his clipboard. But with your brother's record, I wouldn't get your hopes up about early release. Marcus bites back his response. That Dion's record was a first-time offense that would have been a misdemeanor if he'd been white or wealthy. Instead, he silently fills out the forms, knowing any show of frustration will only hurt his brother's chances. On his way to meet Margaret, Marcus passes the Callaway Foundation's community center in Hyde Park, a gleaming building with the motto, "Opening Doors," through education etched in its facade. The irony isn't lost on him. The institution created to help students like him has become another barrier, another system designed to look charitable while maintaining the status quo. Margaret waits for him at an upscale cafe near Calvert Tower. She's transformed from the disoriented woman he helped elegantly dressed, sharp-eyed, and radiating authority. "I owe you an apology, Marcus," she begins. "Bradford has been intercepting my communications. It seems he's been shielding me from Foundation operations for some time. I've been unwell early-stage Parkinson's, and Bradford convinced the board I needed reduced responsibilities." Marcus thinks of his grandmother. "I understand about cognitive decline. My grandma has dementia." Margaret's eyes sharpen. "I don't have cognitive decline, young man. I have a motor disorder. There's a significant difference, which Bradford has deliberately blurred to consolidate his control." She continues, "The Foundation was my husband's legacy. He built his fortune from nothing and wanted to create opportunities for deserving students regardless of background. In recent years, I've noticed our scholarship recipients becoming less diverse." "Look at this," Margaret says, opening her tablet to show Marcus a spreadsheet. 5 years ago, 43% of our recipients were students of color. Last year, 9%. This year, just 1, and he's the son of a prominent donor. Marcus isn't surprised, just weary. "No offense, Mrs. Callaway, but this is how the world works. People like me can do everything right and still lose to a rigged system." "That doesn't make it acceptable," Margaret says firmly. "My husband and I built this foundation to fight against such systems, not perpetuate them." As they talk, Marcus notices a vintage Leica camera in Margaret's bag. She catches his glance and smiles. "You have a good eye. Edward, my husband, was a photographer before he became a businessman. This was his first professional camera. I carry it to feel close to him. The simple humanity of this gesture touches Marcus." When Margaret mentions her late husband's love of jazz, Marcus shares his own passion for music, including his collection of vinyl records inherited from his father, one of the few things he has to remember him by. "Do you have any Coltrane?" Margaret asks, eyes lighting up. "A Love Supreme," Marcus confirms. "Original pressing. My dad bought it from a South Side record store that closed in the 90s. Edward would have appreciated that. He believed music and photography were windows into truth ways of seeing beyond surface appearances to what really matters." Marcus considers her words. "Is that why you started the foundation? To see beyond appearances? See beyond." Margaret's expression grows serious. "Edward grew up poor in Appalachia. White, but poor. He understood what it meant to have doors closed based on circumstances beyond your control. The foundation was his attempt to open those doors for others." She pauses. "What Bradford has done, quietly shifting our focus to privileged students, betrays everything Edward stood for." "What can you do about it?" Marcus asks. "More than Bradford realizes," Margaret replies. "I'd like to offer you a job, Marcus. I need an assistant I can trust, someone outside Bradford's influence, someone who stops to help lost old women in the rain when everyone else walks by. The position would pay enough to cover his family's rent and his sister's plane ticket, with hours that would allow him to attend community college part-time." "Why me?" Marcus asks skeptically. "You don't even know me." Margaret sets down her teacup. Character reveals itself in moments of inconvenience, Marcus. You sacrifice something precious to help a stranger. Before Marcus can respond, Bradford appears at their table, his expression thunderous. Grandmother, we've been looking everywhere for you. Your doctor appointment was an hour ago. Margaret doesn't flinch. I don't have a doctor appointment today, Bradford. I'm interviewing Marcus for a position as my personal assistant. Bradford's mask slips for just a moment, revealing naked contempt as he glances at Marcus. That's out of the question. The board would never approve such an appointment without proper vetting background checks. The board doesn't approve my personal staff, Margaret interrupts. And since I'm still the majority shareholder of Callaway Enterprises, neither do you. A tense silence follows. Bradford composes himself with visible effort. Of course, grandmother. I'm only concerned for your welfare. Perhaps we could discuss this privately? There's nothing to discuss. Marcus starts Monday. After Bradford reluctantly leaves, Margaret turns serious. You should know what you're walking into, Marcus. My grandson resents anyone he perceives as coming between him and his inheritance. By accepting this position, you're making an enemy of a powerful man. Marcus thinks of his mother working double shifts, his brother in prison, his sister's deferred dreams, and his own crushed hopes. With all due respect, Mrs. Callaway, people like Bradford have been against me my entire life. At least this time the fight comes with a paycheck. Margaret nods, satisfied. One more thing. I'd like you to sign this. She slides an envelope across the table. Inside is a non-disclosure agreement standard for high-level corporate positions, but paper-clipped to it is something else, a Harvard acceptance letter with Marcus's name on it. I made some calls, Margaret says simply. Your academic record speaks for itself. The tuition will come from my personal accounts, not the foundation. Bradford can't touch that. Marcus stares at the letter, unable to speak. Your kindness cost you a chance at your dreams, Margaret continues. I'm merely restoring what should have been yours in the first place. But the job offer stands regardless. I genuinely need someone I can trust. That evening, Marcus sits with his family around their small dinner table, the Harvard acceptance letter and job offer laid out before them. His mother weeps silently. Zora jumps up and down. Even Grandma Elise seems to understand, patting his hand repeatedly. I knew, she says in a rare moment of clarity. I always knew you'd find a way. Later, as Marcus gets ready for bed, he notices a text from an unknown number. Congratulations on your acceptance and new position. Enjoy them while they last. -B. The threat couldn't be clearer, but Marcus feels something he hasn't in weeks. Resolve. He spent his life fighting harder than his peers for every opportunity. Bradford Callaway, with all his privilege and power, has never had to fight for anything. As Marcus passes his grandmother's room, he hears her talking to herself, a symptom of her dementia. But tonight, her words strike him. They think kindness is weakness, she murmurs. That's how you know they've never really needed it. He pauses, then continues to his room, where he carefully places the Harvard letter on his desk beside a framed photo of his father. Whatever Bradford has planned, Marcus knows one thing for certain. Underestimating him would be Bradford's first mistake. Marcus has been working for Margaret for 3 weeks when the first sign of trouble appears. While organizing her correspondence, he discovers several letters from the Foundation's legal team that Bradford had intercepted, letters outlining concerns about demographic shifts in scholarship recipients and potential violations of the Foundation's charter. When Marcus brings these to Margaret's attention, she is visibly shaken. This is worse than I thought. Bradford isn't just changing the Foundation's direction, he's actively subverting its legal mandate. Together, they begin quietly investigating the Foundation's records. Margaret gives Marcus access to the digital archives using her executive credentials, and they discover that Bradford has been systematically redirecting funds from diversity initiatives to pet projects and organizations connected to his wealthy friends. "This is fraud," Marcus says, staring at the screen. "He's embezzling from a charitable foundation." Margaret's face hardens. "It's his character, too. Bradford was always entitled, born into wealth he never earned, but I never imagined he'd betray his grandfather's legacy this way." Their investigation is interrupted when Bradford appears unannounced at Margaret's office. He eyes Marcus coldly before addressing his grandmother. "The quarterly board meeting has been moved up. It's tomorrow morning instead of next week. Margaret doesn't miss a beat." That's unusually short notice. Bradford smiles thinly. "Several board members had scheduling conflicts. I took the liberty of resolving them." After he leaves, Margaret turns to Marcus. "He knows we're digging. This is his move to outflank us before we can build our case." That evening, Marcus receives a text from an unknown number. "Washington, $50,000 cash if you walk away from Callaway now. Consider it severance. This offer expires at midnight." He shows Margaret, who isn't surprised. "Bradford is testing your price. Everyone has one, in his worldview." Marcus thinks about what that money could do for his family: clear their debts, secure stable housing, pay for his sister's education. But he also thinks about his own deferred Harvard acceptance, waiting for fall, and how Margaret restored his future when Bradford tried to steal it. "I don't have a price," Marcus tells her. "Not for doing what's right." Margaret smiles. "I was hoping you'd say that." "Because I've made a decision." She reveals that she's been recording all her interactions with Bradford, documenting his attempts to undermine her authority by falsely claiming she's cognitively impaired. She's also been gathering evidence of his financial misconduct. "Tomorrow I'm going to call for a vote of no confidence and have Bradford removed from the foundation. With the evidence we've gathered, the board will have no choice but to act." As Marcus leaves Margaret's penthouse that night, a sleek black car pulls alongside him. The window lowers to reveal Bradford Callaway. "Get in, Washington. We need to talk." "I'll pass," Marcus replies, continuing to walk. Bradford calls after him. "She's using you, you know. My grandmother collects people like charity projects. When she's done performing her white savior routine, she'll discard you." Marcus stops. "Is that what happened to you?" Bradford's face darkens. "You think you know her?" "You know nothing. My grandfather built Callaway Enterprises from nothing. My father expanded it. I've spent my life preparing to lead it. Then grandmother decided the family legacy should go to funding scholarships for people who haven't earned their place." "People who haven't earned their place," Marcus repeats. "Like me." "If the shoe fits." Marcus stands his ground. "Mrs. Callaway showed me the original foundation charter. Your grandfather grew up poor in Appalachia. The foundation was created specifically to help students without advantages get opportunities they earned through hard work. Students exactly like me." Bradford's mask of civility slips completely. "My final offer, $100,000. Cash. Tonight. Or you'll regret choosing the wrong side." As Bradford's car pulls away, Marcus's phone buzzes with a news alert. "Margaret Callaway, 78, hospitalized after fall at home." Marcus rushes to Chicago Memorial only to be stopped at the ICU desk. "Family only," the nurse says firmly. As he argues with hospital security, Marcus spots Bradford emerging from Margaret's room, speaking intently with a doctor. When Bradford sees Marcus, he walks over with a satisfied smile. "Unfortunately, my grandmother has taken a turn for the worse. Severe confusion, possible stroke. The doctors say she's not competent to make decisions. As her only living relative, I'll be taking over her affairs effective immediately." He hands Marcus an envelope. "Your employment is terminated. Security will escort you out." As Marcus is led away, he catches a glimpse through the window of Margaret's room. She's awake, clearly agitated, trying to communicate with a nurse who's adjusting her IV. Something is very wrong, and Bradford is behind it. The next morning, Marcus discovers his access to Callaway Tower has been revoked. His company phone and email no longer work. Bradford has moved with ruthless efficiency to erase Marcus's connection to Margaret and the Foundation. When he tries calling Margaret's personal number, a hospital administrator answers, explaining that Mrs. Callaway's condition has deteriorated and she's been moved to a private facility for specialized care. No, they cannot disclose the location. No, they cannot pass on messages. Yes, her grandson has power of attorney now. Marcus feels helpless rage building. He knows Margaret wasn't confused or impaired. They'd spent hours reviewing complex financial documents just yesterday. Whatever's happening is Bradford's doing. Without his job at Callaway, Marcus's family faces immediate financial crisis. His mother finds him updating his resume at the kitchen table. "Baby, what happened?" "I thought things were going so well." Marcus can't bring himself to tell her everything. The hope of Harvard now seems cruel in light of their reality. "It didn't work out, Mom." Politics. Loretta sits beside him, her hands work-worn but steady. "Politics is just another word for people abusing power. What are you going to do about it?" Before he can answer, there's a knock at their door. 2 detectives from the Financial Crimes Division stand in the hallway. "Marcus Washington? We need to ask you some questions about unauthorized access to Callaway Foundation accounts and missing funds." His mother pales beside him. "My son hasn't stolen anything in his life." The female detective's expression remains neutral. "Ma'am, we're investigating the transfer of $247,000 from the Foundation's emergency fund to an offshore account. The transfer was initiated using your son's login credentials." Marcus is stunned. "That's impossible. I never had access to Foundation accounts. We have digital evidence indicating otherwise," the male detective says. "We'll need you to come with us." At the police station, Marcus learns the full extent of Bradford's plan. Not only has he been framed for embezzlement, but Bradford has also filed a restraining order against him on Margaret's behalf, claiming Marcus was stalking his grandmother and attempting to manipulate her into changing her will. "Do you understand how this looks?" the detective asks. "A young man ingratiates himself with a wealthy elderly woman, gains access to her accounts, then transfers money right before she's hospitalized. The DA is already talking felony charges." Through the two-way mirror, Marcus sees Bradford arrive at the station, playing the role of concerned grandson perfectly as he confers with the officers. The public defender assigned to Marcus is overwhelmed and skeptical. They have digital evidence, login records, and multiple witnesses saying you were obsessed with the Callaway fortune. Bradford Callaway has offered to drop charges if you sign a confession and agree to never contact his grandmother again. "I didn't do this," Marcus insists. "Mrs. Callaway was investigating Bradford for misappropriating Foundation funds. He's framing me to cover his tracks." The lawyer sighs. "That's a serious accusation against one of Chicago's most prominent citizens. Do you have any proof?" Marcus thinks of the documents he and Margaret uncovered, all stored on Callaway servers he no longer has access to. The recordings Margaret mentioned, where are they kept? Her personal phone? Her computer? All controlled by Bradford now. "Nothing I can access," he admits. "Then I strongly suggest you consider the deal. First-time offender, you might get probation instead of prison time." Marcus thinks of his brother Dion, who took a plea bargain for a crime he didn't commit because fighting would have meant risking years instead of months behind bars. Is this how the cycle continues? Released on bail that drains his mother's meager savings, Marcus returns home to find an eviction notice on their door. The landlord's patience has run out. They have 72 hours to vacate. That night, his sister Zora crawls into his bed like she did when they were younger and there were thunderstorms. "You didn't do it," she says. It's not a question. "No." "Then we'll prove it." Marcus hugs her. "It's not that simple, Z. People like Bradford Callaway don't lose to people like us." "That's what they want you to think." she replies with the fierce conviction of a 12-year-old who hasn't yet learned to accept injustice. But Mrs. Calloway believed in you, and so do I. The next morning brings the final blow. Harvard University emails to rescind his acceptance due to the pending criminal investigation. The dream that had been restored now shattered again. As Marcus helps his mother pack their belongings, preparing to move in with his aunt in an even more cramped apartment, his phone lights up with a text from an unknown number. "Marcus, it's Dr. Elaine Chen, Margaret's personal physician. Something is very wrong. Bradford won't let me see her. Meet me at Carter Park, 3 p.m. Come alone." Marcus stares at the message. His mother notices his expression. "What is it?" He hesitates, then shows her the text. It might be nothing. It might be another trap. Loretta reads it twice, then looks him in the eye. Or it might be the truth trying to find its way out. Sometimes, baby, that's all it takes. One person brave enough to speak up. Marcus pockets his phone. Decision made. "I need to go, Mom. If I don't make it back..." "You'll make it back," she interrupts firmly. "And you'll bring that woman's truth with you." Marcus arrives at Carter Park 30 minutes early, scanning for any sign he's being watched. Bradford has proven himself both ruthless and thorough. This could easily be another trap. Dr. Chen arrives precisely at 3 o'clock, a petite Asian woman in her 50s with a no-nonsense manner. She gets straight to the point. Margaret Calloway does not have dementia, stroke damage, or any cognitive impairment whatsoever. I've been her doctor for 15 years. Bradford is having her heavily sedated at Lakeside Wellness Center under the care of a doctor who owes his career to Calloway money. Marcus absorbs this. "Can you help me see her?" Dr. Chen shakes her head. Bradford has restricted visitors to family only, with himself as the sole arbiter of who qualifies. But that's not why I contacted you. She hands Marcus a small leather case. Inside is an antique key and a handwritten note in Margaret's elegant script. "Storage Unit Number 47, Secure Holdings, Michigan Avenue. The truth is there if I can't speak it. She gave me this the day after you started working for her, Doctor." Chen explains. "Said if anything happened to her, I should wait 3 days, then give it to you. She called it her insurance policy." Within the hour, Marcus stands before a climate-controlled storage unit in a high-security facility. The key works. Inside, he finds a single item, Margaret's vintage Leica camera. Confused, Marcus examines it closely. The camera has been modified. It's not just a camera, but a recording device. He finds a memory card hidden in a custom compartment. When he views the files at a nearby internet cafe, Marcus understands Margaret's brilliance. She had been secretly recording Bradford for months. The camera, an innocuous accessory for an elderly woman with sentimental attachments, captured. Bradford admitting to manipulating scholarship selections based on race. Bradford discussing drugging Margaret to make her appear confused at board meetings. Bradford explicitly plotting with the foundation's CFO to divert funds. Bradford instructing his assistant to intercept Marcus's scholarship application. Most damning of all is footage from the night of Margaret's fall, Bradford entering her penthouse, their argument, and Bradford pushing her when she threatened to expose him. Marcus immediately copies the files to a secure cloud account, then calls Dr. Chen. "I have evidence Bradford assaulted Mrs. Calloway and is embezzling from the foundation, but he's got me framed for financial crimes and no one's going to take my word over his." "You need leverage, Doctor," Chen says pragmatically, "and allies with power." Marcus thinks for a moment. The board meeting. Has it happened yet? It's tomorrow morning. Bradford delayed it, claiming Margaret needed medical assessment before any decisions could be made. If I could get these recordings to the board members before the meeting, Bradford would make sure you never got within 100 yards of that building, Doctor, Chen finishes. But I can. I'm still officially Margaret's physician of record. Together, they formulate a plan. Dr. Chen will request an emergency meeting with the board to discuss Margaret's medical condition, her ethical obligation as Margaret's doctor. Marcus will provide her with copies of the most damning evidence. There's one more call Marcus needs to make. He reaches out to Aisha Johnson, a reporter who covers financial news for the Tribune and has written critical pieces about corporate philanthropy in the past. He offers her an exclusive story: corruption at one of Chicago's most prestigious foundations. The next morning, as the Callaway Foundation board assembles, Bradford feels confident. He's neutralized his grandmother, framed Marcus, and is prepared to consolidate his control over the family empire. He even wore his grandfather's custom-made platinum watch for the occasion, a symbol of legacy he feels entitled to claim. When Dr. Chen requests to address the board regarding Margaret's condition, Bradford tries to block her, but the board chair, an old friend of Margaret's, overrules him. "Members of the board, Doctor." Chen begins, "I come to you with grave concerns about both Mrs. Callaway's current situation and the Foundation's integrity." Bradford interrupts. Dr. Chen no longer has authority to— "Actually," comes a voice from the doorway, "my doctor speaks with my full authority." Margaret Callaway stands in the entrance, supported by Marcus. She's pale but clear-eyed and radiating determination. The board erupts in confusion. Bradford goes white. "Grandmother, you should be resting. Your condition—" "My condition," Margaret says coldly, "is righteous anger, Bradford." Nothing more. Dr. Chen explains how she and Marcus located Margaret at Lakeside Wellness Center and, using her medical authority, ordered a reduction in Margaret's medication. Once clear-headed, Margaret signed forms revoking Bradford's power of attorney. "But that's not all," Margaret continues. She nods to Marcus, who activates a laptop connected to the boardroom's display system. "My assistant has evidence you all need to see." As the recordings play, Bradford's carefully constructed facade crumbles. The board watches in shock as Bradford admits to racial discrimination in scholarship selections, financial fraud, and ultimately, assaulting his grandmother. Bradford lunges for the door, but security guards alerted by Dr. Chen's earlier call block his exit. "This is a setup," Bradford snarls. "He's manipulated these recordings." He points at Marcus. "This street kid has corrupted my grandmother, turned her against her own blood for money." Margaret steps forward. "Blood?" "Let me tell you about blood, Bradford. Your grandfather was born to a black mother and a white father in 1937 Mississippi. He was light-skinned enough to pass as white, which he did to survive and build this company. But he never forgot where he came from or the opportunities denied to those who couldn't hide their heritage." The boardroom falls silent. "Why do you think he established the foundation with such emphasis on helping minority students? Why do you think our family charter explicitly prohibits discrimination? You've been dismantling your own grandfather's attempt to right historical wrongs, Bradford. You've betrayed not just me, but your own heritage." Bradford stares at his grandmother in shock. "That's impossible. Grandfather was white. Father was white. I am white." "You are a quarter black, Bradford," Margaret says softly. "Your father knew. He chose to bury that knowledge, to embrace only the privileged side of his identity. But your grandfather left me very specific instructions about the Foundation's mission precisely because he understood both worlds." The board members sit in stunned silence as Margaret turns to Marcus. "Show them the final recording, please." Marcus plays the last file of video Edward Callaway made before his death 15 years ago, intended for the Foundation board. In it, the elderly Edward reveals his mixed-race heritage and his lifelong commitment to creating opportunities for talented students regardless of background. "My fortune was built on the privilege of appearing white," Edward says in the recording. "The Foundation is my attempt to extend that privilege to those who haven't been granted it by accident of birth." As the video ends, the board chair clears his throat. Bradford Calloway, in light of this evidence, I am calling for an immediate vote to remove you from all positions within the Calloway Foundation and to refer these matters to the proper authorities. The vote is unanimous. 3 months later, Marcus stands on Harvard's campus, still hardly believing he's really here. The criminal charges against him were dropped when Bradford confessed to framing him as part of a plea deal to avoid a longer prison sentence for his financial crimes and elder abuse. Bradford Calloway will serve 5 years in federal prison. The news coverage was extensive, with Aisha Johnson's expose leading to broader investigations of discrimination in philanthropic organizations nationwide. Marcus's phone buzzes with a video call from home. His sister Zora appears on screen, wearing an MIT summer program t-shirt, her smile radiant. "How's my favorite Harvard man?" she teases. "Still getting used to it," Marcus admits, panning his phone to show her the historic buildings around him. "How's MIT treating you?" "I got into the advanced track. Dr. Rivera says I have exceptional aptitude for biomedical engineering." Her expression turns serious. "Mom wanted me to remind you about Sunday dinner. Margaret's coming too." Since the board meeting showdown, Margaret has become like family. She helped them find a new apartment in a better neighborhood and established a trust for Zora's education. More importantly, she advocated for prison reform that resulted in Dion's early release and expungement of his record. "Tell Mom I wouldn't miss it," Marcus says, "and tell Dion his big brother needs help moving into the dorm next weekend." After they hang up, Marcus heads to his first advisory meeting with Dr. Richardson, the neurology department chair. As he waits outside the office, he overhears Dr. Richardson speaking to another faculty member. "The Washington boy is interesting. Compelling background, perfect academics. Grandmother has dementia, apparently. He wants to specialize in neurodegenerative disorders." The other professor responds, "Another diversity admission?" "He earned his place, Doctor," Richardson says firmly. "And if his application essay is any indication, he'll make us proud." Marcus knocks and enters with confidence he wouldn't have possessed 6 months ago. Dr. Richardson greets him warmly. "Marcus!" "I was just telling my colleague about your interest in neurodegenerative disease research. We have a first-year position open in our lab if you're interested." "Absolutely," Marcus says. "My grandmother's condition inspired me, but recent events have shown me how much work remains in understanding cognitive decline versus pharmaceutical effects." They discuss the position, and Dr. Richardson mentions it comes with a stipend. "Not much, I'm afraid. Most students find they need family support to manage." "That won't be a problem," Marcus explains. "I've been named co-chair of the Calloway Foundation's new medical research initiative. Part of our mission is supporting students researching treatments for conditions affecting underserved communities." Dr. Richardson's eyebrows rise. "That's unusual for a first-year undergraduate." "So was everything else that happened this year," Marcus says with a smile. "But Mrs. Calloway believes positions of responsibility should go to those who've demonstrated character, not just credentials." As Marcus leaves the meeting, he passes a bulletin board where his own face looks back at him, part of a feature on the incoming class. 6 months ago, he'd been fighting just to be seen as worthy of opportunity. Now he's become visible in ways he never imagined. His phone buzzes with a text from Margaret. "Board approved your proposal unanimously. The Edward Calloway Memorial Scholarship for Neurological Research is officially funded. Well done, Co-Chair Washington. Sometimes the reward for kindness isn't just getting what you deserve, it's the power to ensure others do too." 5 years later. Marcus stands at a podium in the renovated Calloway Foundation headquarters, addressing a room full of scholarship recipients and their families. At 23, he's now the youngest ever executive director of the foundation, appointed after completing his accelerated pre-med program with honors. "When I was 17, I made a choice between helping a stranger and pursuing my own dreams," he tells the audience. "What I couldn't have known then was that kindness isn't a detour from success. Sometimes it's the most direct path. In the front row, his family watches proudly. His mother, Loretta, now enrolled in nursing school herself. His grandmother, Elise, whose condition has stabilized under new treatment protocols Marcus helped develop. His brother, Dayon, who manages the Foundation's Second Chance initiative for formerly incarcerated individuals. And his sister, Zora, a junior at MIT with 3 patents already to her name. Margaret Calloway sits beside them, using a cane but still sharp as ever. She catches Marcus's eye and gives him a subtle nod. "Today, each of you is receiving more than financial support," Marcus continues. "You're receiving a challenge. To remember that your success isn't measured solely by your achievements, but by the hands you extend to others along the way." He smiles at the diverse group of students before him, the most qualified cohort in the Foundation's history, selected through the blind review process he implemented to eliminate bias. Did this story move you? Hit that like button to let us know your heart was touched. Subscribe to Beat Stories for more powerful narratives that celebrate kindness, resilience, and triumph against the odds. Every week, we bring you authentic stories that reflect the struggles and victories of real people overcoming real obstacles. Share your own kindness story with #KindnessWins and become part of our growing community of storytellers and changemakers. Remember, the world needs your voice and your compassion. One subscription equals one more ally in our mission to spread stories that matter. Beat Stories, where every voice deserves to be heard.
Every time someone stands up, speaks out, or refuses to be erased, a new story is born. At Beat Stories, we archive that courage. Subscribe now and help us keep these moments alive, because the more we share them, the harder they are to ignore.